Hello, so let's get right into it. This is about Bill Ryan taking up the talking stick about the alternative community. And I think it's about 2 hours old right now. Dark Journalist did a series of interviews with Bill Ryan. There's one up that went up 2 hours ago. It runs an hour and 17 minutes, and it begins the conversation. And the conversation began on Project Avalon, one of the premier largest forums on the internet, and one that I was a member of many years. And I had a lot of posts. I'm still known there, but for reasons I'm kind of supporting a smaller forum, which is actually a break off there, and it's just a quieter place, and it's just nice to have different alternatives. Excuse me 1 second. Let me just mute my mic for a second so you don't have to hear this. That'll help me prevent from hurting my neck. So I really believe Bill Ryan has started a very important conversation, and to me, he lent it some real gravitas because he posted an article written by Richard Dolan 7 years ago in 2010, in which Richard could already see, as a serious researcher, he could see a lot of things getting out onto the internet. A lot of it, in forums, but a lot of forums are fed by YouTube and the content that independent people can put up there. And I love the open, let's call it marketplace of YouTube. But like any open marketplace, there's going to be some stuff that you'd be better off not taking home. And then there's going to be some stuff that you could pass down for generations. So, and that's just what it is. And that's what freedom looks like. Freedom comes with responsibility. If you get burned, in my opinion, if you want to come from the empowerment of true liberty and freedom, then if you were to go into a situation and got burned, of course, yes, we want everybody to know. This is part of how we work. We let everybody know this person did X next to me. And I'm not playing the victim. I'm now going to play the teacher. In other words, what I got out of this is now I can warn the rest of you off, and if you don't listen, you will learn the same lesson that I did. It's really important to find the empowerment in any situation instead of finding the victim, because the victim will then look for power from others to acknowledge that victimhood, where the empowered individual will draw their power from their own stance in the situation. So anyway, back to the community. So much of this looks like Bill Ryan versus Corey Goode of the Secret Space Program, now working with David Wilcock on Gaia TV. Please understand that just the use of the like a word like TV on the end lets us know a little bit. To me, Gaia TV represents what I'm going to call an intrusion into our world by the Matrix. And the Matrix offers the people who will open this little door. This is a virus tricking the organism, which is, to me, would be the truth-seeking community. And this is a face. This is the face that allows ancient aliens and all that other stuff that apparently is part of whatever the narrative building, where the narrative building is going. Some of it will be because certain little things get out, and then they have to get into the narrative that got into the wild, and once they're part of it, they can then steer it. This is a big part of what you'll hear from Bill Ryan in the Dark Journalist interview, is how the agencies, let's call them spooks. I like spooks, because they kind of work like the archons. They're kind of invisible, inserting all kinds of impish and devious things. And so the truth, think about it, okay? I guess I forget which CIA head said that, they'll know they've done their job when everything the public believes is false. Isn't that just delightful? So anyway, but we know that. We know that because of the internet. Project Mockingbird is tied into that. And so we should, again, the part of being empowered is knowing the terrain you're in. We're really in a terrain. It's psychological and physical. It's multidimensional. And it's by knowing who the predators or least critters that will act predatory, because a predator, again, a skunk, or let's say a weasel. A weasel is a predator, but from our perspective, we usually don't think of it as a predator because of its size, and it's not a predator to us. So that's why I'm going to use the word of the spooks as predators, because to me, they're not as deadly as the mythos would have them. Are there dead bodies laying around because of them? Yeah, they're deadly. We will not remove their lethal advantage. But again, a lot of it, the fact that they're coming into our communities is they really are not. They know that guns is the brute force that achieves actually the least ends. To get inside people's heads and work them that way. And if and what they have realized, and here's something I really want to bring up, just because historically this goes back to the 90s, and it has to do with news being under the entertainment division, and it resulted from my recall, to the best of my recall, a Fox news person found out that they had been given an actual, that provable lie to say on TV, and they were suing Fox for doing that to them. And Fox had a little meeting with all the judges and whatever, and then they decided that what they were going to do, almost as soon as the court case closed, was they're going to take all the news divisions and put them under entertainment, because under entertainment, you did not have to tell the truth. You had to entertain. Your entertainment could be fact-based, and where you can riff. I mean, again, it left all kinds of doors open. And unfortunately, when that happened in the 90s, and then that's when news really started becoming infotainment, because it was under the entertainment umbrella, so that they actually could legally not be legit, and it was fine because they were entertaining. It was news as entertainment. That cannot ever be forgotten. And of course, what all the media is about is writing a narrative that you consider the real narrative and you follow, and based on you following that narrative, they can insert other things and guide it. This is very well thought out. And there's no question, I have zero question in my mind, that much of the activity is AI directed now. Now that's different than AI running thing. Basically what it is humans are interfacing with it, AI, and presenting issues that they want the AI to solve, and then the AI will present them with its solutions. And one of the reasons, I'll tell you what really convinced me, was the kind of mindless repetition we're seeing from the media regarding whether it was Brexit, then it was Donald Trump, and now it was Marine Le Pen and Macron. There was a template. There was and it wasn't particularly clever. It was bluntly used. And there's just, if humans were really on the conception end of some of these major moves, they would be a lot more subtle. I mean, the most devious and not mentally gifted human is by nature generally more creative than that, just because it would be bored doing the same thing again. Would do something wrong just not to be bored. So again, there was an interesting piece by Gilad Atzmon. He does a little thing, and it was a very short thing. And he said what it was the Clinton campaign was working with an AI that was named just like HAL, from 2001 Space Odyssey. They had a name, all these computers have names. Well, this particular AI that it was apparently tasked with, overseeing the election of Hillary Clinton and was putting out this 99.5% rating, that the name of that AI was Ada, A-D-A. because they all have names. Anyway, supposedly so it was at the direction of AI that the mindlessness of what looks like the Hillary campaign was probably AI directed, and that's why she made such people like, how could you not campaign there? How could you do that? Apparently because the AI, it just isn't as smart as they think. And I love this. I love that these people are now depending on AI. That is such an advantage. That is really, if you are an empowered individual, if you know what humanity is all about, and if you can tap into the source that's right here on this planet and feeding you with rich gnosis, man, this is a gift. So I have a lot of notes to get to here. That was my, I guess, my entry. So Bill took up the talking stick. Where are my reading glasses? Oh, let's hope I don't need them. Okay, so basically, there's the spook disruption. Okay, anyway, so we have the basically the alternative community is based on what we consider ourselves as truthers, all right? To any totalitarian society, which of, the globalists. The globalists are totalitarians. So that's what the deep state and the spooks represent. Now, of course, we all know there are good guys in the spooks, but again, they're in a machine. It's kind of like, it's like being in your own rowboat and the tide's going another way. But that's starting, I see that starting to get shed. But the spooks are, so the whole idea is, I think also they know that those of us who want to get something done can't be, we're not hypnotized. We're not led astray that way. And I think part of it, besides they take this whole bunch of people and entertain them with stories. I mean, to me, the Corey Goods thing is an entertainment. And everybody's entitled to entertainment. So for me, what I'm trying to do, and what I like what Bill's doing here. He and Corey have some history, so that's another thing. But because I don't really want to make this about personalities. To me, Bill has brought something into the alternative community conversation pit. And when he had the talking stick, what he did was he brought up this thing, this kind of illness that's wrong with our community. And of course there is that's the phrase called UFO disease. And how that haunts us. And again, everybody needs to make a living while we are still in the matrix. And that's the other thing. To me, I would like to lead to the kind of thinking, because we're going to have to build outside of it while we dissolve it by not feeding it energy. That's another story. So he took up the talking stick, and he's kind of letting us know that there's a lot of distraction and people, I feel there's a lot of wasted energy. And I think so while the various Pied Pipers have their story, the narrative that people get enchanted in and they wait for the next installment. Okay, so they're kind of sidelined. They've been rendered innocuous. They're seeking the truth, and they're seeking a truth that poses zero risk to the deep state, because the deep state's the one who's kind of putting it out there. Again, to me, Corey's and Bill says this, he's trying to take care of his family. And that's why I don't want to make it about personalities. Because if Corey is doing very well, then that's because there's an audience for him. And as much as it's not for me to judge what audience is like, I mean, as far as for me to say, you're this, that, or that, I have my opinion on what I think of it. But what I think of them is not important. I mean, I'm just looking for people to work with. And so I feel that part of the agencies, by distracting people in ways that for some of us are like, oh my God, what's going on here? Where they're almost trying to get us to separate in a very disdainful way. It's just like, hey, these freaking idiots, they just can't think for themselves, the sheeple, okay? And but I won't fall for that. For me, I see certain portions of the truth community sidelined and kind of navel gazing. Yeah, that's my personal opinion. But again, I consider them innocuous for all intents and purposes also. And and I know that there might come a point where they also go, what's the purpose of this pursuit? They're going to, because if some of us who are not distracted start doing things, and just do it with who's the crew. Okay, let's start doing something. Little by little that leaks out, and then as people may tire of being distracted or realize that this is like a dead end, and then they seek other things, and there are things there. And so it's a very natural and loving and organic process by letting everything be what it is. But to me, the discernment is also knowing your own community. And I just really, I kind of like this whole idea of us kind of knowing each other. And and what they're talking about is what I call signal noise. Is that we're trying to have a conversation. And there are those, and obviously the conversation comes from different places, and there are people like myself who are content creators, as humble a subscription base as I have. And then there are people who have huge voices like Bill Ryan on his forum. I mean, a lot of people may not have heard of Bill Ryan, but of the 1,000 people who are on there, when Bill Ryan has something to say, it gets heard. And so the fact that this is getting heard is like and being a part of this community and one time part of Project Avalon, I just how could I not say, hey Bill, I'm here with this on you. Let's try and bring some sanity and some clarity and utility to our community. There's work to be done, real world work, and it's gonna some of it's not gonna be on the internet. I mean, we could start using the internet for the beautiful communication tool it is to set up real world things. And of course, I mean, the first time I even heard the concept of what we'll call ground crew was on Project Avalon. And I think it might have been a Bill Ryan initiative. And then we have Max Egan has the Full Circle Project, which is something I since I have my own involvement, I haven't stepped outside, but apparently it's kind of like a database of like say I am in Floyd, Virginia. And if I want to know if there's anybody, like in Christiansburg or Roanoke or Blacksburg or something, I might go in there, log in my location, and then it would, ask. I think there's even, like you could say, in between like a 20-mile radius, 100-mile radius, whatever. And then you just will see if people who are signed up, and what that is a signal to you is these are other people who know that this system is broken. We need to build something new, and we have to find the crews that can do this. We are a communal species, and this is if we've been doing the equivalent of meditating in a cave as monk-like, getting your information. I feel that there's never been a better time on earth for everybody to come out of those caves and let's meet and find out what we're going to do with all that we have learned. So the agencies are just something we have to take, and they will do. They're going to do what they're going to do. No, and I think Bill does a good job in this first installment of giving us an idea of their behavior. So I won't go over that. Please listen to the interview. I'll put a link to it below this video. So then there's also, to me, there's the alternative narrative. Which one? The empowered ones, or the truth seekers in a way. The truth seekers are in active research mode. And that is a kind of like, it's, I'm quite sure everybody has their own job. So when they get home and they have their free time, they devote themselves to enriching themselves. Okay. I still continue my enrichment, but I'm kind of past the enrichment phase. And so now it's time to turn. It's like coming out of a trade school. I'm out of that trade school. I'm ready to work my trade. And so for me, the truth seekers are the ones who are still in trade school. And then there's the rest of us who are looking to ply our trade. And the earliest form of it was me starting to make videos 2 years ago. And now I'm doing something locally in my community. I have the Global Mission of Peace thing I've been doing for 2 years, which, is not something to do online. That's its own community. So I've been doing things. And I hope to bring more and more of some of that world, catch it on camera, and start making it on YouTube, so that YouTube becomes like kind of a little periscope into some what some ground crews are doing. And how cool it would be for us just to do the simple. I don't care if it's planting a garden. You got a few people and you're planting a garden that's going to feed a few families. Man, this becomes the reporting. I mean, if you ever watch mainstream news and they would have just that kind of story as, kind of like the good news nature stuff. Again, if we're going to be our own media, find out what you like. Find out what you like to speak. Find out what shows us our creativity, our love for each other, our having fun, celebration. And we start creating our own content based on the what we call our separate. There's a separate narrative, and that's one of the reasons why there's so much pressure on people like Alex Jones and that whole movement, because it is a narrative that the people who find that narrative finds it's a lot closer to reality than the mainstream narrative, which is the Matrix reality. The Matrix is largely a media event, because that's why the tubes are there. There are other tubes, but that's beyond this conversation. Let me keep on reading here. So the ages, so for me right now, what we're seeing, and Maya brought up the AI, is because in many ways this is about the EI, the empowered individual, versus AI. And people who are still taking their cues from the Matrix, anybody who's involved in any of the stuff that's seeping out like a cesspool from the mainstream media, there's we have to be able to see that as it comes out. The reason why we do that is because that behavior is AI guided. The mainstream media should, for all intents and purposes, be seen as a mouthpiece for the AI. I'm quite sure there are AI suggestions for feeding into the narrative today, and I'm quite sure they constantly are inputting what's going on. So for me, this is AI versus the EI, and to me, the only advantage the AI has is how many minds it possesses, and how it possesses far more minds. I mean, there are people who really think they've left the Matrix, and they're not, because unfortunately, like to me, when people are distracted by soap operas, One Life to Lead on the Secret Space Program, when people are drawn away from that, that is a Matrix creation. Again, the Matrix extended into our community. It waves some money, some notoriety, security, and of course that the one thing that we always know the dark side from, the contract. Humans don't need to do contracts. We really don't. We think we do, but if you will come from a society of complete integrity, where like to beat somebody could actually make you like an outcast from society, then that's a word would be all you need, especially if you have two witnesses that said, oh yeah, that's exactly what they agreed on. So for me, the whole official signing with Matrix Light by Wilcock and Good is just that's what happened there. Remember, Cypher and Matrix did it for fake steak. So let me keep on reading my notes because I'll go all over the place. So we need to keep the line, and to me this is what I got from the Richard Dolan thing written 7 years ago, was keeping the lines of communication clear and open. Now, this is where the analogy with us becoming the new media is. For all of its faults, the mainstream media does not clog itself with competing or obfuscating or different avenue narratives. Okay, we can go on YouTube, which is supposedly our media, and an important event to happen tomorrow, blah blah. All these words like alert, emergency. These, to me, words that are the equivalent of shouting fire where there's no fire in a movie theater. And with freedom comes responsibility. Now, of course, to me, we have the freedom. The fact is, we better exercise the responsibility quickly, or this irresponsibility will be used as a bludgeon against us. And they're trying to use it right now. They are trying to use it. And part of it is anytime they want to make this community look silly, they'll pull out Alex Jones during one of his ranting moments rather than one of his really clear, lucid, calm moments. Far and few between they exist. But no, they'll go, and he also, when he goes into those rants, he knows he's going into his 8-man act. The Hulk. Hulk, smash. I mean, he allows himself, because it's a natural. I mean, he's pumped. The adrenaline does pump up, so he has a persona that fits right into that neurochemical mix, and they distort him. But then they'll also bring things like the blue sphere beings or any of the other endless things that come out. Now, because I really don't like to sound. I mean, I'm talking about a market. I'm talking, to me, Corey Goode and Wilcock are a market, and the people who feed the market. And until David Wilcock found the good times, and to me, kind of, selling his soul, he was an excellent researcher. So what do I see? I see somebody psychologically profiling David Wilcock, finding out what he feels is not complete in himself, and some of it had to do with notoriety. I'm quite sure cash flow was another thing, and so make those offers to him and take one of the best researchers we had amongst us. David Wilcock is one of us, and when he was back in his researcher days, he was dangerous. Now he's neutered. He's under contract. David Wilcock has been neutered. And to me, that's a spook thing. Basically, in my opinion, he got spooked. And there might be any number of layers to interpret there. So again, he is where he is. And, we don't want to talk about, to me, people, unless it's about their message and the utility of that message. I don't really want to discuss it. Like I said, we can go back. David Wilcock has a body of work that he has every right to be quite pleased with himself, and to me, we were honored to have him give us that stuff. Maybe you'll join us once again someday, David. But I know right now you're signed in. But anyway, so we need to keep the lines clear, and for two things. One is if something really serious goes down and one of us gets it, and we know we vetted it, and it's like, please, we need to get this out. It needs to operate like our own. We need until we take the responsibility to use these lines of communication with at least the semblance of respect that the MSM shows for their own, we will be the motley crew. And I'm fine with being a little motley, because we're here. See, that's the thing. They're the AI. They're the totalitarians. They're the plastic people. We're the stinky, sweaty humans. Maybe not everybody is so stinky and sweaty, but we all have the capacity. Doesn't mean we have to be a motley crew, though. And I wrote something, and it was something about elite. Did I write that as part of this? Because it had to do with elitism. Well, if I find it, I'll go into it. I don't want to get lost. So keep the lines clear and open. Make the mainstream media void, because we know that they're going to, if they tell us something, it's because they've been allowed to tell us. It's just like, again, everything is fed onto the teleprompter. And of course, the spooks are part of that. And I think the spooks also interact with AI. And at the end, we get this product. And that's the interesting thing. When you can feel things, it's almost like you can feel the different ingredients in a stew. So it's not all AI, but I feel the AI, especially in the more macro stuff. It's really quite inartful. Jungle Guide. So here's another thing also. Because one of the things comes up is things of authority, who's going to lead, whatever. It depends on the environment. It depends on the situation. Let's say You come in, you go to a city, you're from a city and you want to go on a jungle hike. Okay? Now, if you go from the city and you take a walk in the jungle, it could be really, really bad. But you have a jungle guide, and this is an experienced jungle guide. He knows how to take people through it and watch out for them, keep them safe. He's got the ears. He knows how to do it. And he can, teach you that. Well, during your little tour through the jungle, that guide is like your ultimate authority. And you will benefit by, provided he's competent, and in this instance he is competent, you will benefit from that. And making him or her the alpha person to direct your energy and to really cue off of is brilliant, and how we operate in dynamic human time. Now, when you come back out of the jungle, that person, whoever it was, is no longer the alpha person. Matter of fact, there may have been an alpha person in this group that went, like say it was like three couples, and one of the males was just the one who normally, we're going to do this, folks, we're going to do this. Just, again, they've given him natural direction. So when they come out of the jungle, he assumes his alpha position, but his alpha position would have been stupid in a place where he doesn't know. So this is what I call dynamic authority or dynamic leadership, but it can only happen when the people themselves actually know what they want to accomplish, so that way you can pick the right person. There is to live the rich, almost godlike life that we are meant to lead means we have to be so much more present. But we have been pulled out. Again, there's the matrix is sucking our creativity. I mean, and that's another thing. I want to keep this about what's Bill Ryan got started here, and I've already talked for 31 minutes, which isn't so bad. So yeah, that dynamic leadership. So right now, to me, again, it's almost like think about a circle in common. Talking stick goes around. Bill Ryan got the talking stick, and he goes, something, I got a little issue here. And like I said, if you're thinking only at the people level, it looks like Bill versus Corey Good. But when he brings in Richard Dolan as kind of like a supporting thing, you realize this is about what I would like to think is the hygiene of our community, and especially the communications. Right now, our communications are full of noise. And to me, clearing out the noise would not only assist us, but it also will get taken more seriously. I mean, please understand, when the people when the controllers look now and they see rabble, and we are exhibiting certain rabble-y kinds of behavior, a little self-awareness, and we will not be rabble. And then and then we can expect even more fun, because then we become more of a threat. But the tide is turning, and it's for us to stay at the crest. And those who have the skill to stay on a surfboard and ride this, let's all wink and see each other on the crest of the wave. So, that's right. I wrote, stop fearing elitism, embrace it instead. And what I'm talking about is all achieving whatever place we can be excellent in. And it's not excellence in their marketplace. It's excellence in our human marketplace, on whatever that is. And it's just endless. And if you just tune into your heart and to that kind of creativity, you will see. And because we need really competent people to be able to know who they are. And a really competent person is what elite is, like an elite athlete. So, I mean, right now, again, we got people turning to the AI. That's how elite their thinking is. It's time for me. What it is you disempower what has been called elite, which is power and control, and then redefine it as talent, competence, and integrity, and then we embrace it, and we become the elite. Okay, Corey. Here's the other thing. Now, a big part of what I feel is an unimportant part of the narrative, because to me, what is really important here is whether or not Corey is telling the truth or not. For me, now, from one perspective, of course, it matters. Oh, is he telling the truth or not? But here's the thing. Here's how it kind of cuts through. Let's say Corey is telling the truth. All right? Let's say everything Corey says is absolutely true. what do we have to work with as far as ground crews doing something right now here? I mean, this is what I'm talking about as entertainment. If he is telling every single word is true, I still see no value to the community trying to build something new. I see a distracted part of our community held in thrall by the next installment, true or not. So this is the point I'm trying to make, that it isn't even the falsehood, which is another story. But to me, to our community, it's just that even if that was truth, that it would have utility to us. That whole what is the utility of the story to us here on Earth without any of that stuff? I mean, I've met people who think they have this great idea and they go, yeah, we're going to power it all with 0-point technology. It's like, what kind? Well, then your plan is on complete hold until that thing comes on the market, because I haven't seen one on the shelf yet. And this is I've seen this on more than one occasion where somebody thinks they have a plan. They're so excited about this new community because we're going to run it on 0-point technology, and it's not available yet. This is the kind of stuff that is noise for us in strategizing. It's one thing to hold out and realize, basically I would consider in anything we're going to do, these new technologies would be icing on a cake that we're capable of baking and making and eating right now. But you have to think in what is available and not what is supposedly just around the corner. We really have to focus on what we can accomplish, and again, some people may not want to accomplish anything more than to come home from their day and unwind with their favorite distraction, and I will not judge them or say there's anything wrong. Enough of us have this drive, and then if we make our state, we'll become part of the entertainment, and we can shift the narrative that way without calling anybody quote unquote a non-participant in any other way. Then okay, you chose not to participate. Again, when you put out a call to the community for a certain job, some people will show up and others won't. But then put out a call to the community for a different type of job, and other people show up. It might be like, are we going to cut some trees or bake some cakes? You might get different people going, yeah, sign me up, and that's all natural and beautiful. And that's the diversity of even just having two genders. Okay, biologically, I still have more, so I better get to it. But I think that, the whole idea, even if Corey was telling the truth, what use? What are we going to do? What the communities that we need to build? What in that story does it? Unless it's going to be a community built almost cultishly on Ra's law of one. And I'm one of those people. I hear the word law instead of way. There's even cosmic and divine language. And the truly divine speaks in ways, and the false divine speaks of laws. Okay? Really is. Okay, strategy. Parsing, part of the part is kind of parsing the EIs from the TSs, the truth seekers. Okay? And again, I really, if it sounds like if I'm almost trying to cover up, nope. Everybody's entitled to pursuit of happiness, and if that's what makes them happy, I won't be the grumpy that they can point at and go, you're a grumpy old man. Okay, the UFO disease. UFO disease is that it starts out with an experiencer, an abductee, a contactee, any number of things, okay? A legitimate experience. Okay. And then maybe they've had one, maybe they've had two or three, and then they get public and they're telling their story. Now what happens if there's no further contact and all we have is what we've told? We're now lined up to produce content. And without content, we disappear. So if ET doesn't land, maybe BS pays a visit. And that's the UFO disease, that that the need for endless content, new experience, because people are waiting for a story. Now, even from this from these lemons, I see some lemonade, and I mean, basically, is so what? Somebody has had 1, 2, 3, maybe just say, let's start with somebody just one experience, but it's very rich. The thing is, what did they learn from that experience? Is there anything we all can learn? And you know what? If that experience has lost its moment of celebrity, please return to where you were. And instead of trying to make a living out of that, now that you're a UFO celebrity, you have to come up with UFO material. And then probably some of the other people might move from not making stuff up, but sourcing other people, reprinting. So basically, what they're doing is a Facebook equivalent of going out and trying to find what they think is legitimate to keep something coming from their direction. And it's a trap. That just people fall into, and it, I guess it takes a little integrity and a little bit of like, this is going to hurt a little bit to break out of here, and but I just really feel with more introspection and just the desire to, in our meditative moments when we look at ourselves, and forget anybody else seeing us, just you and the observer, and that comes through you, and you look at, and if you're good with everything you did with that presence sharing a look at your day with you, then it's probably good. But usually you can find a few boogers. But if we all really just wanted to stay in that place, man, integrity would be a snap, because being out of integrity would hurt, because I know. When that space gets clean, any of that nasty stuff comes, it's just like, oh man, because you have a lot of energy gets expended on holding in that cruddy type of stuff. Okay, so the UFO disease, running story versus finding a yeah, that's what my thing was, that they're doing the running story versus finding value of the experience. Because that's, to me, if these people have experience, what's the value? Not what's the, again, we are so ready to sit down and hear a story rather than saying, okay, what's of utility? And that is probably the biggest word for me, utility. What is the utility? Now, and just be honest with it, so this way here it's in the right category. Entertainment has utility. It's important. It's part of recreation. No question about it. A balanced person will balance work and play. And a real balanced person will find play in their work, or their work is their play. And then when they're done working, they can be like me and be a hermit, because my work is my play. Whether it's musician or body work, man, oh, is that just so yummy to do? And it's wear and tear on my body, but you don't realize until that bliss leaves, or from the experience of doing it. So finding value in the experience, but of course finding value in the experience and then moving on with your life, if you actually have the opportunity, because he doesn't visit you anymore, is, make room for the next person instead of trying to make a living on selling compost. Okay, what's what here? Streamlining the alternative community model. I don't know, but I'm going to call it the alt-com. That's the alt community. And with regards to myself, okay, I'm going to close this up now. Well, it's not so bad. With regards to myself, I even started to pursue Joseph Farrell, and had some back and forth with him, but there was just, things got a little bit cloudy, and he was getting real busy, and there's a few other people, but then I realized that, and part of what I'm enjoying now, it's certainly not necessarily good for my subscriber base or my viewership, but getting people like Target and Vern, and early on I had Shadow Stalker and Brooke, and I haven't heard from Brooke on any level. I mean, she's kind of dropped out of the scene, so that's one of the reasons probably why we haven't had her on the Cosmic Emporium. But in many ways, but to me, part of the harm the community does is we're using celebs to boost our own celeb, and and hopefully that we have a good conversation in the process. I'm finding people like Vern or Ionau, as we know him, or I think he says it differently, on the One Truth forum. Be able to bring really thoughtful people like there to share just their experience at the ground level instead of some talking head. And I think that it's really, from my perspective, I'm not bringing any glitz. I'm not bringing any quote unquote acts. But in many ways, to me, there are some real serious acts out there. Joseph Farrell, as one of the researchers and people. Catherine Austin Fitz. I love Richard Dolan. There's not a whole lot. Linda Moulton Howe too. A little heavy focus on ETs and stuff, but she ties in well, and she's just brilliant, and she's got a certain kick to her spirit, and I really like her. Here's a few, but then there's a few other names that were mentioned in there. It's just like I just don't even get it. And again, of course, I'm coming from my own mystical tradition that I've practiced most of my life, so that's also something that's a little different. And it's just kind of like taking that mystical tradition and parsing out this matrix and the incrustation, because it is an incrustation. But I really, what I'm trying to do in my own thing is kind of bringing unknown people to have discussions that I think in many cases are just as useful, if maybe at least of equal utility. And boy, I would love to have more subscribers. I would love to have more comments and more views. But I kind of take that as just feedback of who I'm reaching and who's resonating. And apparently what I'm trying to do might have a low resonance, but I have just a little, I'm not at 1,000 yet, but I hover at a certain number. But it's still enough, and I am honored to have them, and I'm honored to be listened to. And I just keep on, I try to up the game, and I'll make a few frivolous things here and there. Matter of fact, I want to do a little thing about making a nice, real, good, nice liquid hand soap. That is so easy. It'll be like, oh, that's it? Yeah. So, but anyway, so I guess I'm going to say goodbye here. And this is going to be a conversation I really want to continue. Because for me, Bill Ryan started it. Corey Good is kind of caught up in some crossfire. But I really like to think that this is a time for us to look at ourselves and how we are going to become stronger and cleaner and better defined about not only who we are, but what do we intend to do as a collective, And it doesn't have to be one thing, but let's, why don't we have like a little thing of some very basic things? We think and we throw it out there. And that's the other thing about creative thinking. Do not don't overcreate your thoughts sometimes and then treat them like babies. And if the baby gets abused, you feel personally, man, just throw it in there. Treat it like your ideas of to a pack of wolves. And if your idea is worth anything, they can't tear it apart. Go in with a game face with your ideas. And if it stinks, so what? If you're creative, come up with another one. Glad that the stinker didn't make it through, because we would have all had to dealt with the results. We have to have a lot more fun and be a little more rough and tumble about how we exchange ideas so we get to the good ones. And we get to the good ones by not coddling anybody, because we might hurt the feelings of a reject if we see something wrong with it. And it doesn't have to be reject the idea. Point out what's wrong. Say, can you fix it? Or maybe we insert. To move forward is what's important, not copywriting an idea. All that ownership comes from our own lack of value. We're always trying to add value to ourselves in this kind of recognized way, where if you're empowered and you have the Creator talking through your heart, man, you're as acknowledged as you could ever want. And when you have that kind of acknowledgement, you might look like you have scant acknowledgement, but you realize the quality of it, and you want quality over quantity. Trust me. Kind of like my audience. I consider my humble audience quality rather than quantity. And let's see if, I just hope that we can, together, we can start to make a little more of an impact. So that's going to be it for this Mystic Brew. And thank you for listening. And I might be doing a conversation with Vern and maybe Target, and we'll talk about this, and then I'll put that up. I mean, I have a feeling ModWiz 125 is going to be busy in the coming days. I don't want to lose the momentum of what I consider to be an important, what I hope turns into an inward look of the community at itself, and not an outward look at what, Bill said this about Corey. Corey says this about Bill. Something. I mean, if that part of all this bigger picture interests you, it's certainly there to be viewed. For me, that's not what this is really about. To me, this is really about our community and us supporting each other. I mean, I think Bill Ryan came up with a good idea. And especially, like I said, when he inserted Richard Dolan, because by posting something of Richard Dolan, to me, Bill was saying, this speaks for me also. And Richard is a beautiful writer. There's a bit of the bard in him. And so that really cued me of part of where the bigger picture, what looks like personalities, isn't about personalities. It's about the community, and that's going to be my focus, the community. But taking advantage of that, a big name of a very well-known forum, Project Avalon. Bill Ryan and Project Avalon has done this, and I was once a part of it, and I'm kind of ancillary part of that whole thing. And I'm jumping in here because to me this is important. This pumps me up. This really gets my juices flowing. Be well. Take care of yourself. Stay sane. I love you. Creator loves you, and that'll be it for now.